If you're an open trainer and you want to come back to being a non-pro, you've decided to have a change in careers, how would you go back to a non-pro?
Okay, we have a couple of different exceptions. Both of them require that it's been at least 3 years since you trained an outside horse, rode in the open competition on a horse you didn't own, anything technically that you've trained someone else's horse. The first one is a 3-year, 100,000 exception. You would get that from the office. We would pull that. It has to be less than 100,000 in open money, so it has to be at least 3 years. Plus, you have to have less than 100,000 in open money, and that would be an exception that would include people that had trained in cutting, as long as they have been 3 years and less than 100,000. Then we have an exception that is a 3-year, 15,000, and the 15,000 is also open money, but it can be no cutting.
So that's for sports,
right, for other disciplines. If they've trained in another discipline, it still has to have been at least 3 years since they've trained, and they have to have less than 15,000 in open money in all disciplines.
In lifetime earnings, not the last 3 years.
Right, not the last 3 years. These are both lifetime, and they're all open money, like from Equistat, not just NCHA.
And Julie, what if you mistakenly enter a wrong class and you compete in it and you win? What are there checkpoints to I guess stop that from happening? Yes,
there's a couple of checkpoints. One, a lot of times the show secretaries will check, or they'll look your eligibility on your card. You know, your membership card will tell you if you're non-pro or amateur or what you can show in. If it by some chance you show and it doesn't get caught, you win something, you get a check, and they issue that. And when the results come into the show office, what they'll do is when they run those, if they will catch it, because it will show that you're not eligible for that class, they in turn have to notify the secretary that they had someone that was not eligible. They'll notify the member. They actually have to return the earnings to the show, and the show has to be refigured and paid out as it should have been.
Right. Okay. And is that quite often? Have you had that happen quite a bit?
More than we like. But most of the time people are eligible. But, you know, it does, you know, you do have some that gets through. It's, you know, big shows and they're busy and you know, especially, you know, new people and the complexity sometimes of the rules and things, you know, just learning, you know, what you're eligible for. And that's what we're trying to, you know, communicate out. And always, if they're not sure, you know, they could always call the office and we can help them.
So can you go to the website, and if you look up your membership number, or does it say there?
Right now it has your overall eligibility, but it doesn't have the splits for like the limited age and weekend for amateur. It has the overall eligibility, but it doesn't have the actual splits on the website right now. But we are currently working on a project that we hope to put out to all of our members, I would say shortly, in the next 90 days or so. And, you know, that's what the goal is, that they can actually look up on the website, and it'll tell them each class yes or no. So you'll be able to say, is 2,000 limit rider, yes or no, 50 weekend, yes or no, unlimited, yes or no. I mean, that's what we're working on, is that to help our members and the secretaries have better information, so they know they can just in a click see what they're eligible to show in.
Right, so we've addressed the amount of prize money to allow you to what class you're eligible to show in. What about the ownership of horses? Does an amateur have to own their own horse, and a non-pro have to own their own horse?
Yeah, amateurs and non-pros need to own their own horses. However, we do have an extensive family rule. So it can be a family member that owns that horse. So if your dad or your brother or your child or your uncle, I mean, we have if you always refer to the family rule in the rule book, because it is quite extensive. So as long as you're related, and it's one of the relationships listed in the family rule, you can show those horses in amateur and non-pro.
Right. What if you were an amateur, you wanted to get into cutting, and you wanted to try a horse? Can you try before you buy?
We do have what we call a permit, and that you have to be an amateur non-pro card holder to get a permit, and you have to request the permit from the show department, and you will be able to show the horse in novice classes. So you can't show the horse in amateur non-pro, but if you're just trying it, you can show it in, if the horse is eligible, the 5,000 novice or one of the novice classes.
The novice non-pro, or
not the non-pro.
It's got to be an open.
It's got to be
class.
A novice, right? An open novice class,
Even
or the open if you want.
Sure.
But you can try it there under a permit.
Right.
And that's a one-time. I think you can show it multiple times at that show. But you cannot. But you can't get a permit to show that same horse again.
Right, for the whole year or something.
Right.
You said contact the show department. Is that the NCHA office here, or is that
Yes.
is that the show secretary at the show?
That's going to be Linda Smith here
Right.
at the NCHA.
Okay, so that will that's probably that's the aged event classes, so to speak. We'll go through the weekend classes now. And explain those. The 2,000 limited, which is that would be the first class that you would advise an amateur to show in on the weekends?
A 2,000 limit rider is open to any member rider that has less than 2,000 in earnings, and you do not have to hold an amateur card. So anyone that has less than 2,000 in earnings and is an NCHA member can ride a horse in the 2,000 limit rider. They do not have to own the horse, but the owner must also be a member
Of the NCHA?
of the NCHA.
Right. Now, is there 1,000 limited as well?
There's 1,000 amateur limited rider.
Right.
On that one, you must be an amateur card holder. But on that one, we're also allowing that you don't have to own the horse in that 1,000 amateur as long as the owner is a member of NCHA.
Right. And the achievement buckle, which is really an important prize or trophy to have. What is the achievement buckle, and how do you win that?
Okay, the achievement buckle is based on weekend earnings, and it is $1,000. So once you've won $1,000 in weekend earnings, then you will get a NCHA achievement buckle.
Right. Okay, that's a great incentive.
Yes.
So the next class after the 2,000 is the 15,000 amateur. How do you classify for that?
Okay, on the 15,000 amateur, they're looking for your eligibility. You have to be an amateur card holder, of course, and your eligibility has to be less than 15,000. And it's your total eligibility number. Not the split of weekend and limited age. So that one is on the website, as your total eligibility has to be less than 15,000.
Right, and in the 2,000 you don't have to own your own horse, but the next class, which is the 15 am, do you have to own your horse?
Yes, you have to own it, or it has to be family owned.
Right. Okay, and the 50,000 amateur?
Okay, in the 50,000 amateur, it's actually 100,000 cap on your total eligibility, and then it has a 50-50 split. So you would have to have less than 50,000 in limited age to show in limited age, 50M, and you would have to have less than 50,000 in weekend to show in weekend, the 50M on the weekend. So some people can show in both because they have less than 100, and some people can only show in limited age because they might have 60 in weekend and only 10 in limited age, but they're still under the 100, or vice versa. They could have less than 100 cap, but they have over 50 in the limited age, so that puts them having to show just to the 50 on the weekend.
And that limited age cap, that's any aged event in the nation, or is that's not just the Triple Crown events, is it? That's any aged event?
Right, any 50M age
around,
event.
okay, right. Around there. And there's no exceptions to that rule in the 50M, is there? That's just...
The 50M is where you're going to come into the new senior rules. Now, the new senior rules for the 50M, if you're age 60 to 69, the cap, instead of it being 100 with a 50-50 split, it's 400 with a 200-200 split. And if you're over age 70, there's no cap to show in the 50M, as long as always as if you're amateur eligible.
Right.
Under every
no matter
under
how much
criteria.
you've won, you can stay there.
Right.
And showing that.